And we're back for this time, hopefully, another weekly podcast news brought to you by the 10 Point Podcast, because last week we got screwed over when we tried some new software. So big shout out to Riverside Podcast, who absolutely fucked us last week. It was probably the best news we've ever done in our life. So don't use them. We'll just stick to the old ways and use Skype because it never fails. So
it rarely fails.
So that's my moaning out of the way. And as I said, we are the 10 Point Podcast. This is our weekly news, hopefully, even though we missed a week last week.
Usually weekly, yeah.
Because you can't recreate a masterpiece that was the last week's episode.
No, definitely not.
So let's get on to this week's news, because it's another bad news week, and we started this podcast right in a lull.
Why does it always work when it's a bad week? There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's start by what have we all watched? We'll go with Chris first. What have you watched this week? What can you recommend to our listeners?
I watched quite a few things, actually. I watched Lightyear.
Yes.
It was meh. I don't think it was necessary to be made, to be perfectly honest. I kept losing interest in it.
What did you think of the Shay controversy, as you would call it?
What, him not being Tim Allen's voice?
No. The reason why it's banned in China and half the world.
Oh, the couple. Yeah, okay.
That's the correct response, China, if you're listening.
I'm assuming it's a same-sex relationship or something, having not seen Lightyear.
I wasn't sure if you're trying to be spoiled free. Well, it's been out for a while. Yeah.
I mean,
the lesbian couple.
There's people who are a same-sex relationship doesn't really spoil the film necessarily, unless it's a a bombshell at the end of it, Buzz Lightyear that nobody knew. I don't know.
No.
Wide Woody.
It is what it is. I didn't think it was necessary to be made. There's no rush to go watch it again.
I think they'll make a Woody now.
Oh, they have to. I think Woody would. But would you get Tom Hanks, or would they change the voice in him as well?
And then would you get Stinky Pete and Jesse and all that as well, and Bullseye? Would you get, because I'd much rather watch that than a Lightyear movie.
I'm sick of space. I want to see cowboys and Indians.
Yeah, we need a cowboy resurgence. Red Dead Redemption was 5 years ago now. We need another cowboy resurgence.
Yeah. Apart from that, I also watched E.T. That's another one. I don't really get the kids. The kids had a sleepover and my friend went to watch it. And I don't get all the fuss.
The walkie-talkie version or the non-walkie-talkie version?
Well, we watched it on... Where did we watch it? I can't remember now. But I couldn't see any walkie-talkies. When they were flying over, it was shotguns.
Well, there you go.
That's the old version. I did not watch the new version.
Yeah, you mentioned it to me. I've never seen it since.
Where he's CGI'd in the bathtub.
I wasn't paying that much attention to it.
Yeah. If it's that version, they're walkie-talkies now, and it literally blew my mind when I rewatched it.
Right.
Yeah, I missed out on E.T. I never watched it when I was younger, and then like you say, by the time I got to it, I was like, it was better really.
It's good. I wouldn't say it's great. I wouldn't say it's the best movie I've ever seen, like some people do. I do even find it sad, but I'm dead inside.
Yeah. I might actually only have ever seen it once. Now I think of it, but
It was a long time since I'd seen it.
Yeah, same.
And finally, I am 3 episodes away from finishing The Last Man on the Earth. What a show. Will Forte is a genius. I love him. He's so funny. So I'd recommend watching that. Like I said, I think it was last week we were talking about it.
There was an episode last week, so you could re-talk about it, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was filmed in 2015, but it's set in 2020 after a mysterious virus wipes out humanity. And that blew my mind. It was like The Simpsons all over again, just predicting the future.
Are you suggesting they're behind it? Like it was a publicity?
Well, maybe. Well, let's make this true story. Let's just kill everybody.
Oh, the viewership's really bad for the show. How do we drum up interest?
But fair, Will Forte carries that film.
I'm assuming it's a comedy if it's him then, because he's a comedian, isn't he? So.
Yeah, but there's a lot of dark humor.
Right. Okay.
I won't spoil anything. I'll let you watch it. If he's not going to watch it, I'll talk to you afterwards.
No MacGruber. What film?
I say whatever I think of him.
It goes quite MacGruberish.
Good.
So, not a spoil, but Kristen Wiig's in it for a few episodes, and they're quite MacGruberish together.
MacGrubery.
So yeah, I'd recommend watching that.
Is that all you got for recommendations?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Right. Well, I was going to go to the cinema and watch Bullet Train, but then I decided, fuck it, it's too far. So I didn't bother watching that, so that's my rave review. However, I did other than watching the news and panicking and shitting myself that the world's going to implode and we're going to go into financial crisis, which has been pretty much my life, just watching the news again and drinking beers, I have watched Sandman
Ah, okay.
Oh,
on
Okay.
Netflix.
The whole thing or just some?
I'm halfway through.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it, and it makes me keep wanting to watch another episode. So that's good. The problem I have with the series is he looks like Robert Pattinson, and it seems to be an emo resurgence at the moment. And also, it's not a spoiler because you've seen it in the trailer. And if you haven't, it is a spoiler.
Fair enough.
Why is Patton Oswalt a voice of everything? Because
that's a good
he's
point,
in
actually.
this. He's in this again as a voice of a creature, and it's like, God damn it, man! Just stop voicing things. And he's like, he's in Marvel. He's over in DC. Like, I think this is DC. Sandman's DC. It's like he's covered all bases. He's in Star Wars. It's like, Jesus hell, man! Give some
He's
voice.
like
for something
Billy
else.
Crystal. He's got a sultry voice.
He's got a voice.
He's got a corner on that market of like every casting agents know that I'm a nerd and I like nerd culture. So when they want a famous name, famous voice to voice a character, they go to him first, and like he gets all the jobs. I think because like, it's a good little corner. Like they want to be there. It's kind of like how Kevin Smith for a while he was. Everyone knows he loves Star Wars and all this sort of things. So we can go get him for a little cameo. Like Patton Oswalt's the new guy.
But no, Sandman, it's definitely worth a watch. If you like the kind of Constantine type things, it's very much that. And I have no Sandman knowledge, so every episode's like,
Yeah,
ooh, this is
same.
happening. Ooh, this is happening. It's like it's finally got a show where it's not, I don't know anything about it, and I'm really enjoying it.
I'm struggled with Neil Gaiman stuff in the past, where I don't think I've actually ever got into anything that's like from the Neil Gaiman guy. Is it Gaiman or Gaiman? Let me say it.
Yeah.
From one of his books. I'm always like, all right, I'll give this a look. It looks good enough, and I never get through it. I'm just like, I kind of get bogged down and kind of fed up with it.
Everybody's saying the first episode was so bad, I put it on, and I was just like, I think I was just too intrigued, going, ooh, what's this? Ooh, what's this? Like I was intrigued by nothing happening, but everything happening in my head.
Okay.
But then it starts getting pace, and then they start bringing in some familiarities from DC stuff that you probably know.
I had no idea it was DC, to be honest. I thought it was just some random thing.
No, it's DC. And then the only other thing I've watched is the start of Lock and Key season 3, which I quite like Lock and Key, so I was excited for the final season.
I still need to watch season 2.
So, but yeah, I'm a massive Kevin Durant fan, and he's very much going to be in season 3. So yes.
Okay.
That's all I've watched. So, Bruce, what have you watched? What can you recommend?
So I was going to go out and watch Bullet Train, but then I realised I couldn't be fucked. It was too far. Whatever it was you said earlier on. So I didn't go see Bullet Train either. But also because, like, I know Andy's had it hot all summer, but it's 20 plus degrees up here as well now. So I'm going to spend the week outside. Is basically what I tried to do this week. So a couple of day trips here and out in the sunshine. Literally, I've watched more of Better Call Saul. I've now finished season 2.5, I think, of that. So I'm nearly caught up to where I was when I stopped watching Better Call Saul. Still amazing, but it's Better Call Saul. I'm less interested in the Saul stuff, more interested in the kind of gangster stuff that's going on. But that's my sort of deal anyway. But one place I did go to on a tip from, you guys will know this person, a chap called Mr. Brown. You may have heard of him. He's a very famous name where we're from.
Oh, yeah.
He tipped, there's a place in Scotland where they filmed some of Endgame. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course, it'll be like the station in Edinburgh where Captain America. No. New Asgard at the end of Endgame, the little village, is in Scotland. It is not in Norway. So I took a trip to New Asgard for a day out in the sunshine. I've got a little photograph of me at New Asgard. There's me with Thor's hammer, with the sign and all that. So that's the harbour behind me there. And I went on like the hottest day of the year. It's absolutely sweltering sunshine. And it's just this little village. They barely spruced it up at all. It literally looks as it did in the film, except there's not like people working on the ships. But I guess there would be fishermen there on a fisherman day. But yeah, it's just, I walked up the hill. It was a great viewpoint. You can follow, the town sign actually says St. Abbs is the name of the town. St. Abbs, twinned with New Asgard. That's the actual town sign that says that on it. And there's a little walk you go up the cliffside and you get a great view of the town. But then as I was standing there, I'm like, I recognise this bit up here. And it turns out we're literally standing where Thor and Valkyrie have their discussion on top of the cliff where she becomes the king of Asgard. I'm like, I got like a photograph of a still from the film up on my phone. I was like, Yeah, that's literally the path. I've just walked up the path. That's in the background behind them. So standing over that. So yeah, a lovely day. They spent 4 hours out in the sun wandering around this place. But it's not really made for tourists. You go down into the town. It's tiny, the place, and it's like a tourist centre, like the St. Ab's, like tourist information. So we'll maybe give that a swing. We're just here to look around. And as we walked past, someone was taking a photograph with the sign that I showed there. I was, we could do that too with holding on to Mjolnir and all that. Chris has left out. It's a surprise.
He's off. He's going to Asgard.
And he's back. He's going to Asgard.
Tom's going to die, mate.
My recommendation. He's going there right now. But yeah, you pop into the town hall, and I was like, all right, here we go. I bet they want a $5 for a photograph of the sign. It's like, no, just go in, ask if you can take it. They're like, oh yeah, just pop down there and take a photograph. So you run off with Mjolnir and the sign, take some photographs, just take it back in again, and that's it.
Was that actually your hammer that you just carried out with you? No,
that sad that I would take one with me, but
I can imagine everyone in this town's like, fucking more nerds.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Go. Pretty dead. I would estimate there must have been, I don't know, maybe we saw probably 50 to 60 people all day in that kind of area, and I reckon half of them were there. Maybe more than half of them would be there for not anything to do with Marvel. Just it's a nice wee town. We're here to see some sights. We're going for a walk up the hill and all that. There was very few kind of young people who would jump out as being Marvel fans.
It's not like a Thor's dinery and.
That's what because we wanted to. Like, it's absolutely boiling. It was like 20 odd degrees. Like, right, I really want to get some ice cream. Let's go buy an ice cream and we'll sit and have that, and then we'll head home. There's like one I think there was 2 cafes in the place. Like down by the harbour, there's one, and back up, basically, it looks like I think it was an old school. It's now been turned into a cafe, and neither of them sell like scoops of ice cream. It was literally just little tubs of ice cream. Is all they sold, and I'm like, you're missing out making quite a bit of money here. But yeah, it's the opposite of what New Asgard is in the most recent Thor movie. No spoilers for Chris, but what New Asgard is like in the MCU is not what the actual real, despite the fact that it's as much of a tourist thing, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, dead quiet, lovely. Go on a good day though. I bet it'd be a bit rough when it's wild and windy, but yeah, that was my movie themed day trip I went in lieu of actually watching anything this week.
There you go. So basically what we're saying is there's not that much to go to watch, so get outside, enjoy the sun before you nuke, and go to New Asgard.
Yeah, New Asgard. St. Ab's. It's in the Scottish borders on the east coast, so head over there.
Right, well, we better get on to some news since it's been another slow news week. But however, I can recycle some news from last week because nobody heard it. And first, let's bring on to our favourite ongoing news story. It is Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers have came up quite a lot, and they are fucking up things left and right. The new Batman film, which looks pretty epic, and they're starting to release more and more about it, including Michael Keaton being in his batsuit, which everybody's like, why are we not seeing this film now? Everybody's like, we need to watch it. But then they've got the good old Flash, aka Ezra Miller, who now has a cult.
It's honestly like every day somebody goes on the internet, it's like, right, Ezra Miller, and then just like auto fills a sentence, and then like, that's the news today. But it's true. It's like so weird.
Warner Brothers seem to be in this problem where they have fucked themselves hard. To which basically breaking news, as I've seen on the internet today, is they have 3 options with the Flash. Option 1 is they're going to get him professional help and put him into rehab and only have him do very, very, very limited press for the launch for the Flash movie. Option 2 is he does not do any press and they just release the film and he's got nothing to do with like premieres or anything. Or option 3, which apparently is leaning towards now, is they cancel the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which it's a lot of wasted money again.
Which apparently Warner Bros. Have cancelled all this thing for tax write-offs now, which is the new rumours that they've cancelled Batgirl and all that because they can just get rid of the tax.
Yeah, if it doesn't get any release at all, the whole thing can be written off as like, I don't know, sunk cost or whatever, but yeah, it's like they don't get taxed on it or something like that, yeah.
Well, I want to see Michael Keaton as Batman. I've seen a few stills and he looks pretty good. He can still do it. But I am happy that Batfleck is back and he's not going. He's going to be cameo in the also doomed Aquaman 2. That's having to edit some people out on that bad boy.
How have DC fucked this up so badly? Marvel have churned out 26 films, and they can't get 5.
Well, I mean, like DC have not. It's not like they've not been producing stuff. Like they've made a lot of stuff. They probably per hour, they probably made more time worth of things on film than the MCU, but it's been so bad. It's the Pennyworth series anything to do with this? Because I saw that they were rebranding the Pennyworth, which is Alfred,
Yes.
and it's now, rather than just be called Pennyworth, it's going to be called like Pennyworth. Like the beginnings of Batman's butler or something like that. It's got an awful sounding name because obviously nobody's watching this show.
I started watching it last year and it just was shit. It just was not good. It's like that's why I didn't watch it. And I quite like a lot of the DC stuff and the CW network stuff. I'll watch The Flash, I'll watch Legends tomorrow. And I thought, all right, Pennyworth, I'll watch that. No. Same with like Bat thingy with Ruby Rose and all that. That was just doomed to start off with as well. That was shit.
I don't like her as an actor, so I just refused to watch that.
Is Gotham about the only thing that kind of came in, completed itself, and left without being complete disaster?
And apparently Flash is now ending. Like they've got one more season. I think that's ending in season 8. But Gotham, well thought out. They added new characters in. People liked it, and it ended. It worked. He becomes Batman at the end. Spoiler. You know where you stand with that. The Flash, that's all over the shop, but he can rebrand himself because he can time travel. He got multiple Earths. Arrow seemed to work, but they had a really bad ending. But anything new they've tried that is a film seems to be like shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because of Ezra Miller's cult, but it's something.
Maybe the Batman might be them turning over a new leaf. That Pattinson Batman might be. Hopefully, that's a fresh start for everybody.
However, James Gunn has confirmed that Peacemaker season 2 is okay and will start filming soon. Apparently,
there is that.
John Cena's ready to get back. The only other bit of news that we've talked about and we've done a podcast about is Highlander. Can be one. However, there's going to do a remake with Henry Cavill.
Yay! That's why I'd researched when we did Highlander. Any more news on that?
Well, it's not doomed, which everybody thought the project had been doomed when we last covered it on the Highlander podcast. But apparently, the director has said it will be starting soon. They've just got to wait for Henry Cavill to finish Witcher off.
Right. Okay.
There's a window between Witcher seasons, which is they're going to try and film it. But however, Witcher got delayed because Henry Cavill and the whole cast got COVID again.
Right. Okay. I'm excited for the Highlander stuff.
He's quite full on as well. He injures himself all the time.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
He stabbed himself with a sword in The Witcher, so hopefully he doesn't do that with
Highlander. Yeah, the heat goes off.
Highlander sword. So that's not going to end well. That's going to be one movie and done, and Kurgan's going to take over. So that's all the news I've got. Chris, what have you got?
I forgot what I talked about last week, so the only one I've got this week is District 10. Filming could be starting as early as next year.
Oh, really?
With Sharlto Copley and Neil Blomkamp. I've got a draft of the script, like pass it backwards and forward, like making notes and stuff. So it's.
You had the script there. I was like, "Well, give us the script, Chris. You got the script."
Christopher Johnson, of course. Has he got a script?
Oh, I'm out of space. I'm saved.
Yeah, that's right. Do we know what it's about? Any leaks of it? What might be happening?
Nothing yet. There's no story. Just basic script drafts getting passed across. But
I reckon
him and Taylor say it.
Johnson comes back. That's why.
Yeah. Because what was it? Why did they come to Earth? Because their planet was destroyed. Is that what happened? Is that why they came to Earth? So then he, like, I don't know, is he going to come?
They were getting minerals or something like that to take back to their planet or something like that.
Right. It might be
and then their spaceship just broke down.
I think we definitely had theories at the end of District 9 of what would happen. So I might go back and listen to our episode about it. But yeah, good.
I definitely want to go and watch it. Like, well, not watch. Like, I wanted a sequel. Like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We took this out of Chris in the cinema, and it just always stuck with me. But it was one of them films that should have had a sequel, but just never did.
Well, there we go.
Well, maybe this will work for it because the fact it's been such a long gap. Maybe we can work that into it.
Yeah.
I've seen films that have long gaps. They're never right. They're never right.
Apart from that, more sad news with the death of Grease star, and I don't know if she was an award winner in the Pointies or not. I can't remember. But Olivia Newton-John passed away.
I reckon her ass was in that leather thing at the end.
She was definitely nominated. I'll say that.
I don't think she won. I think she got done by the Kurgan or Darth Vader. I can't remember.
Phrasing.
But, yeah, I think we should stop reviewing movies just in case something else happens.
We've killed quite a few in our podcast recently.
We do curse a lot of people. I can't find it.
This is called in poor taste, so if you want anybody gone, just let us know and we'll review the film.
I did find out, upon finding the Olivia Newton-John news out, I did find a bit of news that somehow had slipped past me when we did Grease, which was that the first film she made after Grease is a film called Xanadu, which is quite a famous film, I think.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, definitely. apparently that was one of 2 films that helped launch the Razzies. Like, I don't know, whoever organizes the Golden Raspberry Awards looked at the film year of 1980, I think it was 1980, and was like, how bad are these films? If only there was an awards ceremony that could celebrate how bad these films were. And yeah, apparently she didn't win. She was nominated for Worst Actress, was Olivia Newton-John at the Razzies, but she didn't win. But yeah, I thought, oh, there we go. It came up that 2 things that we'd covered, and actually covered in the podcast. I've got the pointies here, but I have no idea how I'm going to find where she would be. So if you want to, it's me next. That's another thing. I was going to say, if you want to carry on.
I think there was one. I'm trying to think. There's Pinocchio. There's another Pinocchio film getting made. That's what we were talking about last week. By Benicio del Toro. Not Benicio del Toro. Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, different one. Yeah.
And the cast, it's oh crap, who's it? Ewan McGregor and I think Tilda Swinton's in it. So it's another Pinocchio. And you know how we love a Pinocchio.
I don't know why it needs to be remade so often. What is is it even popular? Who's crying out? Oh, don't you just love Pinocchio?
This one I think is going to be animated though. I think I can't remember now. All my notes are gone, but I'm sure this is more of an animated one instead of a live action one.
Right. See, Olivia Newton-John's not.
May not be happening.
Olivia Newton-John not a pointy winner, but definitely a pointy nominee. So she'll cap it on her IMDb page, unfortunately.
So there we go. That's Chris's news. So, Bruce, what have you got? We need the proper forecast here. What are we going to be watching next week?
Sunshine is the forecast. No one's going to go see anything. That's the forecast. Last week, the news that went missing, I did predict the only new entry in the top 5. So the top 5 is Elvis, which has held on and knocked Top Gun Maverick out of the top 5. So Elvis is at 5, then Thor, Minions, DC, Rise of the Super Pets, League of the Super Pets is number 2, but Bullet Train in with a bullet at number 1, as we thought, because it was the only new film that was any good coming out last week. But this week, one that might pass it and be number 1 is Nope, the latest Jordan Peele movie, following up from Get Out and Us. His sci-fi horror mystery starring Daniel Kaluuya, who's voicing All or Nothing Arsenal at the moment, which is where I'm seeing him. But anyway, Daniel Kaluuya from all the films that he's in. A sci-fi horror mystery. The trailer doesn't give too much away, but it definitely looks like there's going to be aliens involved. But if you've seen it,
wacky flailing arm guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but people looking at ominously at skies, and I have seen other bits and pieces that might lean towards it being alien stuff. But yeah, I've tried to not spoil myself too much. But
go back to back that and Bullet Train, because Bullet Train's going to have to be doubled up with something because I can't be arsed. I was at an event this weekend. I was talking to the Cineworld goblins that were trying to sell you unlimited cards, and I was like, he was like, "Oh, you go watch Bullet Train." I was like, I've seen a lot of films, and it's like every single time I go watch a new film, I get an extra bit of trailer. And he's like, "Oh, it's actually 12 minutes of the film is in trailers."
Right.
The dude said. So 12 minutes of the films have been released on trailers. That's a lot of film, and the film's only an hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh, that's not.
So that's why I didn't bother watching Bullet Train.
Yeah, not a great look for it. But yeah, so that's the only thing at cinema. I couldn't really find it. I nearly spoiled one that's coming out in a couple of weeks, but it's not released in the UK for a couple of times. But streaming, there's a new film. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. On Netflix, seems to be the big streaming movie of the week. An action comedy called Dayshift. Now, I mentioned this. Jamie Foxx is a pool cleaner in the San Fernando Valley. I researched that's California. But actually, he's not. That's a cover for his real job, which is vampire hunter. So it sounds like it's going to be like Blade, but in California and in the sunshine. It's called Dayshift, so I imagine he must kill them during the day, or he does work during the day.
Back to your vampires.
They are a daytime vampire slayer. I think that's a perfect job.
Yeah, that's a fun job. So that seems to be that's the big film coming out on streaming. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be good, but Netflix, every single time they bring a new film out, they're like, it was our most watched film ever. It got to 80 million people looking at it and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, Nope. If you're going out, if you're staying in, watch Dayshift. Future releases. The one I nearly spoiled was Beast, which I think will come up either next week or the week after on the news, which is. Well, I'll leave it for a couple of weeks. Look for the film Beast. It's kind of similar to the film we're covering on the actual podcast this week in some ways. So I'll do that. September, Disney's Pinocchio, one of the Pinocchios, and then Don't Worry, Darling, and then October we've got Halloween and Black Adam and all that, and then some more after that. But we'll get into them when we get to them. But that's it. It's very quiet at the moment. One movie a week, basically, is what we're looking at, Andy.
That's it. So, well, I'm actually going to add an extra little bit of segment in to give some people hope. Right? Things are going up. Prices are going up. Electricity is going up. However, top tip for you. If you own a Samsung phone, or even if you don't, Google cheap Disney Plus subscription. Because right now you can buy it for less than £20 for a year subscription. You can get yourself a code as long as your membership ends before June next year. Get yourself Disney Plus for another year for 20 quid and defeat Disney's price increase, which was actually going to be my other bit of news. That's why I've segued back in. Because they're putting that shit up an extra £20 a year. Fucking
That's like just about double it, is it not? Bloody
I was
hell.
asked to stop ads and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, they're doing an ad version, which apparently staying the same price. But if you don't want ads, you've got to pay another £20. So fuck that shit. Get yourself on the internet. Google Disney Plus code. They're all legit. It's from Samsung. And if you've got a Samsung phone, you can get it free for a year anyway. But if not, you can just buy £20 code. So that's my top money saving tip. I'm going to be like that Mark Lewis twat.
A new segment on the podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, top tips on how to save money on your films legally.
Yes, legally.
So there we go. Go and enjoy the sunshine. Go see Thor or Asgard. Go to
New Asgard, yeah. It's an
New Asgard. And if none of this has tickled your fancy, we do have something that should. You should go over to Disney Plus or Hulu if you're in America, watch Prey, and then come back and listen to us because we're about to review our newest film we've ever done. We've never done one this close.
Yeah.
Spoil the shit out of it for you.
And yeah, we'll spoil the shit out of it.
Definitely watch it first.
Watch it first, and then come in, join us, listen to us, watch us, and see what we have to think about Prey on the 10 Point Podcast, main podcast, we'll call it that. And we shall see you next week on the 10 Point Podcast Weekly News.